The history of Rostrum Roadshow Disco. It was a very long time ago. My memory is somewhat hazy of some of the names, so apologies if I have missed you out. Luckily all my old diaries do exist. Rostrum was conceived late 1970 along with Al-Kay, Alastair Yates, as an Al-Kay promotion. I remember meeting Wizzard, Blackfoot Sue and many others of the time. Al-Kay had previously been running a small roadshow disco since leaving grammar school, Burton, Revolver Roadshow. I don't recall Al have any disco lighting, just a twin deck and mixer along with a Marshall valve amp and a pair of Carlsbro 4x4 speakers. Such elaborate sound systems were not required in 1970, just the loud noise was sufficient to party. The 7-inch record collection was kept in Babycham crates. We got financing to start building a bigger disco show with lighting gear and projectors. It was up to myself to design and make all the disco lighting. Light controllers were very expensive, so I obtained some rotary chem switches driven by asynchronous motor from RF pots in Derby. The channel change effect was as good as any 4-channel controller. One of the best visual stage effects was 2 5-foot triangles built from large discarded food tins with a lamp in the back. All the tins were riveted together and housed in a plywood frame. The inside of the tins acted as reflectors. Alastair's dad Ken Yates ran a bicycle shop in Waterloo Street, Burton, along with his wife Alice. Alastair went to join his dad in the business, which became K KA Yates. They had a Morris J4 van. The shop went on to sell furniture, TV and radio, etc. Luckily the J4 Ken owned became our transport for Al-Kay Roadshow Disco and myself, Bob Wood, and the Rostrum Roadshow. The van was later scrapped for a grey Transit Mk1 van. Some gigs such as the 76 Club with Mr. Band, Burton upon Trent. The Hardington Arms and Blue Orchid, Gypsy Lane Draycott, Cleopatra's Derby did not require disco gear, as all was pre-installed, so Alastair and myself as record box carrier and roadie. The going fee for a gig in 1972 was between £10 and £20 if you're very lucky. 1973, Rolleston Youth Club was a regular venue. What an amazing gig ran by Youth Leader Mick Badcock. June 20, 1973 was Rostrum's first gig at Rolleston Youth Club with DJ Bob Wood and Rostrum Roadshow. I also supported Tony Prince, Radio Luxembourg, October 20, 1973 and Emperor Rosko. I was using then the 2 large triangle light frames and Altek Lancing speaker system. Does anyone remember these gigs? 1973, the weekly residency for Rostrum Roadshow was Twycross Country Club. Maggie May by Rod Stewart was the first time I danced with a lady. My love life in the very early 70s was a daily service to a much older woman, Angela. I remember them sweaty nights which for a time ended up living with, not unusual in them days for a horny 17-year-old in a permissive society. She did at least have a telephone for my gigs that I was able to use. You scratch my back and I yours. 1974 and 1975, the only place for Rostrum to buy some of our disco gear in 1974 out of 5 was from Roger Squires in London, for which I became a regular visitor. By the end of the 70s, having over 12 Tutor Rank Aldis projectors with some amazing effects at the time, such as Splodoscopes and Total Eclipse effects and the usual 3-inch rotating cassettes. These still survive in a box here at my chateau in South France. 1974. Rostrum continued as usual throughout the year, but by 1974 Al-Kay would only go out on big roadshows, as he had become a presenter on Radio Derby. Somewhere on 1/4 reel I have Al-Kay's first radio show on Saturday, May 19, 1973. On the Sunday morning I recall going up to Brizlincote Lane for breakfast, where they all lived, and Al was eagerly listening to his first show on Radio Derby on an Uher portable tape recorder. I copied the same tape from his Uher onto my ferrograph. 1974, May. Rostrum Roadshow had bought its own van, an old Bedford CA, £90, which I remember ripping out the seats and replacing them with high-backed aircraft seats, really cool at the time. I doubt it passing today's MOT inspection. 1974, I met the girl of my dreams, Sue from Stretton, at a gig at Rolleston Youth Club. Many years later I saw Sue behind the tills at Tesco, and could not resist in saying hello. "Hi Sue. I'd love to hear from you. I often wonder if we would have made a go of it." My roadies at that time was Paul Tipper, Gary Williams and Dave Timmis, Hoar Cross. His brother Mick Timmis later started up his own roadshow, Locomotion Disco. 1975, Rostrum's start of a very busy year without Al-Kay. I was doing 2 to 4 gigs a week all over the Midlands. The sound system was still huge Altek Lancing bins and horns, indeed extremely very heavy, along with a set of Carlsbro 15-inch bins for smaller venues. Despite my investment, gigs that paid well were hard to come by. My 1975 diary still shows occasional gigs for the Al-Kay show. 1975 also showed the start of gigs at Allied Sports and Social Club from Mick Collins, indeed a huge stage to fill with disco gear. It was also the start of gigs coming in from far and wide entertainment agencies. 1976, Rostrum was being talked about from far-flung places. On the May 30, 1976 I signed a summer season contract for Pontins at Hemsby, Great Yarmouth, until August 30. This was a good time for a professional DJ, as record companies would provide the 7-inch records. It was also the start of my jingle machine presentations. The Burton gigs all came back for the winter season. 1977, aged 22, saw the start of gigs much further from base, such as the Test Match Hotel in Nottingham on New Year's Eve. 1976 and 1977 Al-Kay was busy with his radio presenting and the occasional gig he needed a backing disco roadshow. £50 and £90 were the norm for large shows. The smaller show went out for less. My weekends always included a roadshow in some place. At that time I had an old Mini plus the Transit van. I remember Les Ross and Al-Kay doing a double-link radio show. Later I went to meet Les Ross in the BRMB studio to see a live show go out. 1977, a London agency offered me a contract that I could not refuse, working as an international DJ in Denmark. The contract was signed, and on the August 30, 1977 was the ferry trip to Esbjerg, Denmark, with only my record collection and the Mini. This was a total different exciting lifestyle and a lot of sex. My shows in the large clubs finished 3 a.m. I would also DJ some very large venues. One gig stands out very clearly in Copenhagen. The band was touring and I quite fancied one of the singers that I tried to chat up. That band was called ABBA. I was the only DJ to play Mk1 by Shubai Dua, which took the massive Danish audience by storm. Also ABBA too. My last entry in the 1977 diary is getting ready for Norway gigs. 1978, finally back in the UK. I turned down a contract this year touring Scandinavia as an international DJ. Now with a world of life's experience behind me, the only videos existing would be somewhere in Scandinavia. My life beginning to settle down somewhat with a steady relationship. I would always be guaranteed maybe 2 gigs a week. Moving into a small flat with my to-be did not give me the urge for traveling too far. Although I did miss the crazy exciting nightlife as an international DJ. 1979 was not really an exiting year disco-wise, mainly as I was in full-time work as an electronics engineer. I met my to-be, to have and hold, etc. Gigs were coming in, but sometimes there were more important things to do in life, like making babies. 1980, missing gigging, so started taking in more gigs to pay for the extras for a to-be family needs. As an electronics engineer I was also making new lighting and designing a 4x4 matrix light controllers for dance floors, like as what you see on Saturday Night Fever. Although that controller wasn't matrix, some orders went to Kuala Lumpur, but most were sold in the London disco shops. 1981, gigs were just as busy with 2 or more shows a week. Storing the disco gear was becoming a problem, so I thought, why not use a large enough 4-wheel trailer based on the size of a double bed with enough height to walk in. Trailer 1 was built upon a sturdy cast iron bed frame using mini trailer hubs onto a steel center section without spans for the hubs. My mate Keith supplied the anti-corrosive thin metal covering as he worked in the making of industrial freezers. Everything fitted in perfectly. I pulled it with an Austin 1100. Keith and Jenny went on to run the JK Mobile Disco. 1982. Saw the birth of my first son. The 4x4 matrix controllers were selling well, so I went on to design a 19-inch rack-mounted unit for club installations. Gigs were as busy as usual. I was working as electronic engineer on arcade machines. 1983. Light boxes were the rage, so I set about making many very elaborate matrix display screens that no other mobile disco could copy. So with the many Tutor Rank Aldis projectors and a smoke machine, the light show was amazing. The screens had good service right into the late 90s. By then we had moved into a 4-bedroomed council house. 1984. Okay, let's skip the personal life as it's getting boring now. Apart from the roadshow, the Matrix light controllers were selling very well, to such an extent moving into a bigger workshop. Exporting also to Kuala Lumpur, from adverts in major UK disco lighting magazines. 1985. Was a time for making Matrix display screens for the roadshow, since I already had the controller. Also, by seeing the displays working, I was able to update the software on the EPROM. A lot of double bookings were coming in, which got passed on to Keith and Jenny. 1986. Saw a change of life since the milkman was giving more than a daily pinta, with extra cream to the missus, whilst I was working long hours away on the road with Matrix controller sales. Time to move out. The manufacturing put on hold and I signed a contract starting May 16 as a DJ on a large holiday park in Clacton-on-Sea. Nothing worse than brooding as it does you head in, and a total clean start was needed. And what fun I had too. September 26 saw the end of the contract along with new girlfriends and contacts. So back to my parents' home. Just for the fun of it, I started bonking the milkman's ex-wife. Hi Helen. LOL. 1987. The summer brought on a contract as a DJ at Butland Skegness. Bought a small terraced house so I can have kin over. Bookings were every weekend, ladies kept me busy. Hi Hillary. Hi Jillian. Hi Heather. Hi Izzy. Hi Kath. Hi Pam. Hi Fiona. Per my black book. 1988. Rostrum expanded to 4 roadshows along with new road crew: Vince, Greg, Mark, Paul, John, Barry, Alan, Adam, Scott, Aaron, and DJs John Scotland, Simon Harris, Tommy, Keith Hughes, Steve Beecham, Gary Knight. Ladies in abundance. A right Casanova, I hear you say, but if it's offered to you like most guys, you take it. 1989. DJ Franklin Hughes from Trent FM and I got together on the Stepping Out radio shows.
Let me say good afternoon to a mate of mine I met just a few weeks ago, or one of our Stepping Out. His name is Bob Wood. He lives in Burton on Trent, or round about that area anyway. Bob's one heck of a good guy, and he's coming down to the Griffey Dam later on tonight. Maybe tonight you can get up and do some DJing, huh Bob? Hope you're having a nice weekend, big buddy.
Bought a Sherpa van to pull the trailers and store more disco gear. Rostrum Road crew at the time was Greg, John Soodale, Tommy, Vince Miller. Big hi to Helen, Leslie, Fiona, Kaz, Helen, Izzy, Hillary, Rachel. For keeping me warm. 1990. This the year of girly dancers on the show. Sadie and Tina joined Rostrum June 23 and did we have some fun. The road crew was John, Mark, Snowy, Alan, Vince. With DJs John Soodale, Titch, Simon Harris, Harry. Carol became housekeeper and good friend to the road crew. Bought big Renault Master van. Car booting was the Sunday attraction. By now everywhere I go people would say, oh, that's Bob Wood. Stepping out with Franklin on most Saturdays whilst the DJs and crew did gigs. Let's forget the ladies, you got the gist of it. 1991. The little terraced house becoming very busy and like a second home to most. Sally joined us March 22nd, later to become a very good girly DJ. I'm spending more time with Franklin, as he is moving on to WNK London and Kiss FM. Stepping out with Franklin Hughes was such amazing gigs, that I shall publish the studio tapes soon. So I moved Franklin gear from Shepshed Way to his new house to Tottenham, London in the big Rostrum van. Sally on holiday in Australia. More trailers being made. Roadies Paul Bond, Paul Stone, Snowy, Mark Culver and Robin. DJs John Soodale, Simon Harris, Harry. Bought car for Sal to go college in Derby. I recall Sadie going into hospital and visited by Dr. Wood. 1992. What another crazy year. Took Sal to the Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat show at the Palladium, this the year Sal finishes Derby College. Road crew, Carl Ely, Barry Ely, Paul Bond, Paul Stone, Snowy, Mark Culver, Lee Sidwells, Robin. DJs John Soodale, John Scotland, Simon Harris, Harry, 20 years old Jason Loffman joins the DJs December. Girly dancers. Tina, Sadie, August 30th saw Stacy and Rebecca join Rostrum Dancers. With 4 shows out on New Year's Eve. 1993. This is really a hectic lifestyle, but I revel in it. The road crew remains the same as in 1992 apart from the return of Tommy Sava and talented DJ Gary Grice, with Lisa and Sue joining the dancers. Everyone by now had two-way radios either in the car or at their home. Sally started DJing at the Derby turn as she has now finished university and starts her new job. I buy a small Amstrad Palmcorder to video the shows. As disco lighting goes, the Tutor 2 projectors get replaced with 8 Twins. The Rostrum crew gets new t-shirts and fluorescent socks. December 10th little Emma, age 14 years, joins the dancers. December 19th along with Simon Adams, Sky age 20, joins us on the road crew. New Year's Eve 6 roadshows went out. After every gig we'd all pile into Sava's chip shop in New Street for supper. 1994. The road crew and dancers now benefits going to pop concerts for the hard work they do. For the guys it was down to Jimmy Dean's on a Sunday night. Nissan Prairies had become the mode of transport for the dancers and road crew. Road crew, John Soodale, Carl Ely, Barry Ely, Paul Bond, Paul Stone, Snowy, Mark Culver, Lee Sidwells, Carlton. DJs Sally Rainsford, Jason Loffman, age 20, Simon Harris, Harry, Martin Bond, Graham Barrett, Becky Radix. Dancers. Emma Hurd, Stacey Gray, Louise Jones, Layla Webb age 16 years, Joanne Booth age 16 years joins the dancers April 2nd along with Gemma Reddyhoff age 14 years on May 14th and Becky Radix age 15 years on May 7th along with Melanie Barnshaw age 14 years on August 27th. Despite Becky's age, she'd started DJing at the Queen's Hotel. James Golding joined the road crew on September 24th. I think James was 16. Dean Prime joined the road crew mid-December and began DJing shortly afterwards. What a big happy family this is turning out to be, but how long will it last? Carol remained housekeeper to keep everybody in place. Just for fun, the little terrace house at Christmas was decorated to the max OTT. Tina and Sadie needed to drift away and pursue personal relationships. New Year's Eve 7 roadshows were out with 1 spare for a late booking. 1995. Now with 4 and 5 roadshows every weekend, my life becomes more than crazy. Franklin Hughes phoned a few times and I think he came to visit the little terraced house once or twice. Sally had renamed the girly roadshow, Livewire Disco. New dancers also came while others left. Joanne and my favorite girl Gemma was off the disco scene, so more girl dancers joined towards the end of the year. Rachel Friel, Sabrina Elton, Kelly Wade, Julie Franklin, Claire Redfern, Penny Wood and Michelle Lawton, all aged about 14 and 15 years, and Charlotte Riley aged 16 years. Chaz later became a rostrum DJ. While little Emma was still with us, dancing her heart away. I arranged for Emma to be on top of the pops. Dean Prime was now DJing along with Jason Loffman, Becky Radix, Martin Bond, John Soodale, Steve Babycham, Richard Mears, Gary Carr and unfortunately David Chamberlain. The road crew remained as firm and loyal as ever, with Chris Clark joining us. Becky was now joining the guys on the Sunday night out at Jimmy Dean's. Despite her age, she would make herself look much older. I always made sure she was safe if situations were to arise. I didn't think much of it at the time, but Jason Loffman would always turn up at the house with a different young rostrum dancer on most occasions. I have never known a guy DJ such as Jason Loffman, who has such a lust for young girls. With having girl dancers, the booking increased a great deal. Rostrum dancers would encourage the audience, they were taught all the party dances and the renowned clap-clap. More road crew joined up for crazy weekends. Carl Bertels nicknamed Bert and Jim. James Golding was hiring disco gear from Rostrum to do his own shows. I also ended up the engineer for Loco Sounds run by Malk Rexbird. A rather shady character named David Chamberlain started DJing for Rostrum. Later it was proven that he had stole one of Rostrum's disco trailers full of gear, which the police recovered from his house. This the year of the support disco for the Glamorama gigs at Allied Sports and Social Club. Carol was still keeping order at the little terraced house, and also whilst I went on a naughty week trips to Russia. New Year's Eve saw 9 roadshows out with one as backup, and some dancers becoming instant DJs. 1996. Firstly, take down the crazy OTT Christmas decorations with Emma, Carl and Sky. Simon was nicknamed by the crew Sky as he was so tall. DJ Jason was doing all the school disco bookings, I guess myself not having the patience. February saw me fly out to Minsk, Belarus, Russia, on a mercy mission, long boring story. But exciting in every way possible. A picture speaks 1,000 words. The usual treat for dancers was the Cash for Kids concert at the NEC. Carl was now dating Emma, to this day they are still together. DJ Dean Prime had died aged 27 years, which we all think rather suspicious. Jason's 21st on the April 12th, so we go to the Edge in Tamworth. Rachel turns 16 a few days later and is given a little gig to do. Rachel is having some family problems and occasionally stops over in the spare bedroom. Sally gets new job in Portsmouth, so she's off the DJ scene. Becky takes over the residency at the Craythorne Golf Club from Sally. New crew members join Rostrum: Jason Hood, nicknamed Body Filler, Stuart Maddox, Stu, and Lee Mansfield. Stu has a crush on Chaz. Sunday car boots are the norm for those who want to be picked up from home. Jody joins the dancers along with Emma, Rachel, Julie, Chaz, Wendy and Sarah, who later becomes a girly DJ. Robin and Amanda do occasional gigs for Rostrum along with DJ Gary Carr. As usual, the little terraced house became second home to most, and Carol is there for a shoulder to cry on. Chaz does her first gig with Livewire at the Craythorne on July 6th, while Becky does a much bigger gig at Burton Town Hall. She starts Knott's University in September, and travels back for gigs. New Year's Eve saw 12 roadshow go out, an extremely busy day and night for all.
This is the Blackfoot Disco Show.
1997. Yet another busy year ahead for the DJs and road crew. Chaz has now turned 17 and still DJs and dances if a gig isn't there for her. Sky has his own little residency, so sometimes not available. Likewise, when some existing Rostrum dancers are unavailable, we have a list of others who want to join. So Nikki and Haley comes along with new crew members, James Golding and Tim Cawood, James later on sets up his own little disco, Sounds Unlimited, later Sound Temptation. Betchy is still the weekly resident disc jockey at the Craythorne Golf Club as she travels back from Nottingham. Along with Sarah and Chaz who does the other Livewire gigs and Jason who does the Rostrum gigs, although I'm beginning to suspect Jason only comes on the roadshow to get his end away with one or more of the young girl dancers. A new house move is getting planned and I'm sure will leave the Rostrum crew with many happy memories of the old terraced house. Rostrum has now 3 Nissan Prairies as crew and DJ transport. The road crew are always on hand when Rostrum gets busy. However, we don't see Rachel nor Gemma or Joanne much now, and especially towards the end of the year, despite my attempts in trying to contact them. What's happened, girls? 1998. Take down Christmas decorations with Lynn, Mart and Louise. I have already bought the other house and daily work on it gets pursued to complete the renovation. DJ Becky is still at the Craythorne. But by November we'd lost it to another disco. So I let Becky do the gigs that I was supposed to do, as she needed the dosh more than myself. Luck is on Becky's side as in December she returns to her nesting box at the Craythorne for Christmas gigs for a short while. Current DJs Sarah, Tim, Jason, and Martin nicknamed Peanut, Richard, Carl. New crew members came, Andy, Paul and Ben join us. However, not a good start to the year, the little house got broken into whilst being away and one the trailers stolen. Which was later recovered being empty of disco gear. Becky and I got busy on laying the new parquet floor at the new house. So looking back through the 90s everyone knew where the spare key was kept and some even had their own key in case of an emergency stopover. Many a time I'd be woken up in the morning with someone coming down from the spare room, that had come in late while I was sleeping. As I say it was a second home to most of the crew and dancers. I now wonder how much they actually appreciated this home at their disposal day and night. New Year's Eve saw 5 shows out. 1999. Will be a new era for the Rostrum Roadshow as the little terraced home gets sold later on in the year, as some full roadshows and trailers get sold off along with the Nissan Prairies. In 1996, Rostrum had 12 disco shows in total, yes a big operation with lots of stress, care and responsibility for the crew and dancers. I need a big scaling down of the operation. New DJs join the crew, Ed Stanton, as Betchy pursues her new career in Nottingham. It was really very hard to let Betchy go, especially when you get to care for someone so much, and after seeing her grow up. But she knew I was always there for her and she was able to do her old haunt at the Craythorne at Christmas. Girly DJ Chaz takes over Livewire Roadshow along with Sarah. DJ Sky, Bert and Ed takes on a lot of gigs for Rostrum, with road crew Peanut. By the end of the year nearly all the roadshows sold, with 3 remaining. New Year's Eve saw 3 roadshows out, these were the last remaining shows. 2000. That's it as I sit here in tears at my French chateau, in the mountains of South France, thinking of all the good times we all shared together. If you hold her right, and squeeze her tight you'll get yourself a love bite. Enjoy the vids. Bob Wood.
It's the weed blazer.
Rolleston International Roadshow.
That's all, folks.